Hello, everyone. I'm HelloChaz. Today I'll be doing a quick guide on Cole and Dulls, focusing on the maths and evaluation. As a background, some a guide based on Cole was requested in the YouTube comments by Stephen McCulloch. Yes, I do take requests. So if you do want to make if you're curious about any specific symbols and how strong they are, especially the ones that require maths, I can definitely make a presentation, do the maths, and do a quick video about how good they are. This video sort of assumes that you've already watched my fundamentals video, or are familiar with all the relevant concepts of how the background of the mechanics of Luck Be a Landlord. And also, as a final context, this is analysis for the final floor only. I know there are other floors in the game, and I do not play them. If you're playing on the earlier floors, take all of the numbers in this video and make them, more permissive by, 5 to 10%. That should be a roughly good correction for all the numbers that I have on this video if you're playing on earlier floors. So, a quick recap on what Coles and Dulls do. Cole is 0 for 20 turns, and then 5+ until the end of the game. It turns into a diamond, and the diamond has +1 for all other diamonds. So there's a couple additional buffs to take into consideration for Cole. There's the Dame, which is not particularly pickable in the end game unless there's 2 rocks. And by 2 rocks, I mean like a diamond and an emerald, a diamond and a diamond, an emerald and a ruby, or a large number of medium value rocks. And if there were medium value rocks, it would probably be because there was a cleaning rag involved. And the cleaning rag does give +1 coin for diamonds. So there's some additional benefits to picking up coal that gives it additional scaling options beyond the fact that picking additional coal after coal gives it scaling as well. The Dull, as you see at the bottom, additional buffs, basically none. At least circa the current patch. It pays 0 for 3 turns, 1 for 5 turns, 2 for 7 turns, 3 for 9 turns, and then 4 until the end of the game. This is a little bit of a complicated payout situation. But, put it into a program, and we can roughly see how these values turn out. This is Cole. Cole is a lot easier, very simple. Now, we have a typical coal pickup, which is actually kind of late, which is picking up coal on, a spin 20. And then it pays off at roughly spin 45 and then pays off near the end of the game. Now, why is it spin 45 instead of spin 40? Well, because the coal is not always going to be on the board. So it does not literally take 20 spins to do the transform. It takes, more like 25. So there's a small correction that I've made here to account for the fact that while the coal is transforming, a lot of the time, the coal is going to be off the board. Or not a lot of the time, I should say. A fraction of the time, the coal is not going to be on the board, and that needs to be taken into consideration. And this is the typical Dull for rent curve. Again, picked up on spin 20. And going up. This is Dull 2, Dull 3, Dull 4, and then the final form, where it will pay 1, 2, 3, and 4 very nicely. This is the kind of chart where looking at this and sort of like cringing, where looking at how barely the Dull gets above the rent curve and then flatlines while the rent continues to increase. I mean, there is some spaces where the doll is outpacing the rent after it picks up at 20 to compensate for the amount of time over in this area where the doll is behind on rent. But this is looking at curves like these sort of give me the sort of intuitive feeling of how good picking up doll on spin 20 versus how good picking up coal on spin 20 is. Yeah, it's like I think like intuitively looking between this curve and this curve, I definitely would prefer this curve. Now let's take out the big guns. Let's say what's the average return for the rest of the game for a coal picked on a given spin. And let's plot that against the average rent on a per symbol basis that is required to pay the landlord for the rest of the game. So let's so here's the landlord curve, and here's the coal curve. Now the coal curve flatlines because clearly, when the coal is not going to transform by the end of the game, it returns 0. However, anywhere before that, it starts to have a nice little curve that's apparently shaped like this to do a return. And we have a nice little break-even point right here. So if we contrast this to the doll curve, bada bam, we have a lot more graceful behavior here with the humps. You can see each of these humps is related to when the doll is transforming. When this is when the doll is at it's returns 0, returns 1, returns 2, returns 3, and then returns 4. You can see that reflected as when the doll is what form the doll gets to by the end of the game. Now, of course, no reasonable player would be picking at it anywhere in between here, but at least we can sort of see what would happen if we were to pick it at the very end game. And then we have the nice break-even point right around here. And so instead of having you, my dear viewer, pause and inspect these charts and try to figure out exactly, draw lines on the computer screen with a ruler, I've done the closer analysis. The coal breaks even at spin 22, and the doll breaks even at spin 20. In other words, if you take either of these two items, either of these two symbols, sorry, before those 2 points, they will net more value than that is above average for what is expected by the landlord on a per symbol basis for the rest of the run. And realistically, I think this is maybe not tremendously surprising, but looking at these charts, except in the super late game where no reasonable player would be picking either coal or doll, coal is just on a symbol by symbol basis stronger than doll. We're gonna just look at these, like in basically every instance where we care about, the coal is higher than doll. So unfortunately, it is what it is. Not only does coal scale better, but also coal is just worth more. Oops. So there's that. But what about second coal? Well, I'll do you better than second coal. I'll do second coal, third coal, fourth coal, fifth coal, and sixth coal, all arranged in one handy dandy chart. And yes, second coal is worth more than first coal because the coal gives the diamonds give +1 for all other diamonds on the board. And that is pretty tremendous. Now, I must admit that I exaggerate the scaling a little bit. This naively assumes that the the diamonds will be all on the will always be on the board at the same time. So actually coming to look at this chart, I've realized just inside this presentation that these scaling numbers are a little bit too high. It's probably knock these down by say 20%, and you get roughly the correct lines. But the fact that this is scaling and this is sort of an eye-popping number where the 6 coal is really averaging 11 if you pick it up on spin 0. It's okay if we knock that down by 20%. Okay, it's still returning 9, which is still phenomenal. So we might be the scaling. It might not scale literally this well, but it does scale quite well. In terms of raw numbers, and again, these are slightly exaggerated. The second coal breaks even at around spin 39. That's payment 7, 375, and 5 spins for all you humans out there, including myself. Third coal breaks even at spin 48, and that's 450 due in 4 spins. And rest of coal breaks even between 450 and 575 due. And so take into account that the scaling is not literally that hard. I would say that the break-even point is closer to when for the second coal when the payment before 375, I believe, is 325, becomes due. And the third coal breaks even at around when 375 is due. And the rest of the coal break even should be adjusted accordingly. Now, there is an item in the game called Time Machine, and Time Machine reduces the time that coal takes to transform into a diamond 5 spins, and it reduces the time that each individual doll part transforms into the next doll part by 2 spins each. So, what does that do for the values? Well, I'll tell you, since I ran the numbers. The green line is the line for the doll without Time Machine, and the red line is the line for doll with the Time Machine. So there is a pretty nice difference between these two. Actually, surprisingly so. I've been somewhat unimpressed with Time Machine as an item that gets picked up, but there's actually something. There's a nice gap between these two curves. So I wasn't able to put 20 lines onto this chart because having coal with Time Machine versus coal without Time Machine for all of the different coals. For context, coal was previously breaking even at 22, so this green line was previously down here. And again, for these top 5 lines, these top 5 lines are a little bit hot by about 20%, so just dink these down a little bit. Dink it down a little bit, dink it down a little bit, dink it down a little bit. Just a little bit. Not too much. But, this break-even point is probably, closer to, like, say, 50 or so. So, the doll plus Time Machine is break-even at about 30. Coal plus Time Machine break-even point at 33, all of those numbers. And so the summary is that Time Machine adds about 10 spins to the pickability of doll and coal. Now, there's a question that I don't really address here, which is, yes, we have the curves, we have the maths, but what does I mean? Like, should coal and dolls be picked at the break-even point? Should they be picked before the break-even point? When should a certain value of symbol be picked relative to the landlord rent increase chart? And I don't have a tremendously good answer for this here. Um, I think sort of intuitively, um, my feeling is like I always want to be picking up. I've been picking up these sorts of symbols about sort of 5 spins before the break even point, and like felt good about it. But like, is picking it like after the break even point really that bad? Because again, like, this is picking up a call on spin 25. It's still returning about 3. So I don't, I don't think that picking up symbols that are behind the curve is inherently a mistake, because symbols have to be picked up, right? So um, that's it's that's a little bit more out of scope of the maths that are presented here, and I'd prefer to have an actual reasonable answer, but to actually get that answer will require a lot more play and a lot more analysis. I think if you were to talk to various extremely strong players, I think you would get different responses. Um, you know, and unfortunately, those differences probably won't be resolved particularly soon. But there's some flexibility in the game and how it's played. But that flexibility is benchmarked on the math that is presented in this guide. So I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you have any suggestions for symbols I should analyze next, then by all means, hit me up in the YouTube comments. This will be going onto Twitch and onto YouTube. And as a reminder, I also stream gameplay on a regular basis. So, whatever the buttons you have, like, follow, subscribe so that you can get the latest updates whenever I create some new content. So, that's all from me. And till next time. Bye bye.